What's going on, backpackers? My name is Dave and this channel is called Off Grid. If you're interested in backpacking, hiking, and gear like I am, please consider subscribing to the channel down below. Today's video is going to be all about a beginner's guide towards backpacking. Got one here. And we got one here too. So what are the things that you need to know about purchasing your first backpack? The topics I'm going to be covering today are going to be in the realm of things like weight, price, the materials that are used in making the backpacks, the different types of options in backpacks that you guys can expect, as well as price, which I'm sure a lot of beginners are looking for when they first start out in backpacking. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to get into is one of the easiest ones, and it is going to be the topic of what are the different types of backpacks that you can find. There are really only two major types that you can find. One is going to be frameless and the other one is going to be framed. And if you're just starting out backpacking, I would definitely recommend going with a framed pack. And what that basically means is that there is a frame that runs along the back portion of the inside of the backpack so that it has more rigidity. You can't really bend it over or anything. It's usually some sort of stainless steel frame or a lighter like carbon fiber or something like that, just giving it that rigidity, usually down both sides of your back on the left and right side. A frameless pack has no support whatsoever, so you're going to have a lot more difficulties in trying to fit everything in your pack and having it ride comfortably for you. And when you're first starting out backpacking, you really don't want to think about as much how you want to have your stuff in your pack ride on your back. You definitely have to worry about how you're putting your stuff in your backpack and how you are organizing your backpack on the inner compartment, and I'll go over that in a future episode. But in this video today, I'm just thinking about broad strokes terms. You really just don't want to think about going with a frameless pack when you first start out backpacking. The second topic I'll cover is going to be in regards to the overall materials that you're going to use in your backpack. There are a lot of different materials that they have and terms that are kind of thrown out there that might be confusing to you. One of which is like a nylon or a ripstop nylon, which this REI Flash 55 backpack is made out of here. It's 100 denier ripstop nylon. And then there are other terms like Dyneema that you might hear, which is formerly known as Cuban fiber. That is the most expensive option that you can go with, and it's also the lightest. Those are the main two options that are out there currently. There's a couple other materials that they can use, but for the most part, those are the two that you're going to want to concern yourself with when you're first starting out. And the biggest things that you're going to want to know about each of those: one, nylon's going to be cheaper, and then the different grades of nylon are going to give you different ideas on the price points. Usually, as you go lower in the denier of nylon, it goes higher in price. Ooh, water. And that kind of leads me to my third bullet point here, and it's going to be the overall price point. Again, the nylon is going to be a lot cheaper and the Dyneema is going to be the most expensive. So when you're first starting out, you might want to consider going with more of a ripstop nylon to start off with, rather than just jumping into the deep end in the deep waters and going with the Dyneema right away. So again, a general rule of thumb with buying a backpack as far as the overall weight to cost ratio goes is the higher you go in price, usually the lower in weight you're going to go. But that's not always the case for every single backpack that's out there. And then usually if you're going with a budget option like this Chinese brand right here, the less you spend, the higher the weight is usually going to be. And again, that's not going to be across every single type of backpack that you can get, but that's just usually a general rule of thumb that you can go with. Okay, the fourth thing I'm going to talk about is going to be what I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, which is what kind of options are you looking for in a backpack? Are you looking to have a lot of different compartments and different straps and buckles and different things to kind of like attach down and strap things to the outside of your pack? If so, then an option like this might be really good for you. It has a lot of different buckles on the outside here. I'll get up and show you. Got a lot of different buckles, got a lot of different straps. This all adds to the weight too. And pop open the brain here. As you can see, this is a top load style. This is a cheap Chinese brand version. It has a draw cord, and then it's got a big inner compartment here. But then on the outside also here, you've got the buckles on the outside where you can attach something just to the front here. And then you've got buckles on the side here. You got buckles all over the place. So confusing, even to me to this day. when I'm trying to search for stuff. They've got different side entry compartments like this one right here, where you can kind of get into the side of the pack. You've got a bottom portion right over here for your sleeping bag. A bottom portion that kind of just opens up. This one actually has a trap door right here that kind of zips across so that you can separate your sleeping bag from the rest of the main body compartment. So hard to zip close. You've got a top portion right here, which is right before the top load, where you can have another access point to another pocket, and so on and so forth. This is really, you know, the budget option. Again, this is the Chinese brand. I think it's called like Mountaintop, something like that, that I got when I first started out, and it was definitely one of those rookie mistakes that I started out with, and I was like, let me just get the biggest pack that I could find, and let me try to save the most amount of money without thinking about like what actually could fit in my budget and what size of a backpack do I really need. I was just trying to think of like, what could I spend the cheapest amount of money on and maximize the overall interior space of my pack, and that's kind of what came up. But this pack is super heavy. I'm not going to get into a bunch of the details on it, but super heavy. It weighs, I think, a grand total of like 4.5 pounds. It's insane. I think like the inner frame on it itself weighs almost a pound. It's just a super ultra heavy weight option. It can hold a ton of gear, and it can hold a ton of like base weight as well. You could probably good 30, 40, even more pounds in that pack, but I'm not going to really concern myself with that pack. And another model that I've got here is my REI Flash 55. I got this loaded up a little bit to kind of show you like what it can look like here. Again, ripstop nylon, 100D denier grade, and a lot of the same look in the overall size. It's got the rigidity here and kind of like a flex in the back panel right here to kind of like keep the sweat off your back a little bit. So that's a little bit good. But this one, you'll notice the biggest difference is there's not a lot of buckles on the outside. There's not a lot of different compartments where you can kind of get in. This is a top load option only. So you just kind of roll this up, and then you've got like your main compartment right here that you just stuff everything down in the middle of, or in the bottom of rather. And then you just kind of roll this down like so, buckle it closed. And this one comes with a brain too, kind of flips over and latches down. But you'll see there's no bottom compartment down here for your sleeping bag. You got the side compartments for your bottles, your chair, and things like that. And you also have this outer mesh compartment right here that is super stretchy, and you can reach down and get stuff. But that's pretty much it. There's not a lot of compartmentalization with this overall backpack. So we'll slide that out of the frame right there. And one of the pro tips that I have for you guys today is to actually head on over to REI and test out different types of backpacks. They have an amazing staff there that will fit you with different types of backpacks, show you the differences between the backpacks, and actually let you like try them on, and they can custom fit them to you so that you know what size to get as well, because some of the packs like this cheap Chinese one has different straps and things so you can adjust to different torso lengths, but other ones like my REI Flash Air 55 is fixed so that the straps aren't going to really go anywhere. They make a small, a medium, and a large version, and you have to know what your torso size is. I might get into how to measure your different torso size in a different video as well, but for right now I think we're just going to be talking about the simplest and the most basic stuff that you can look for when you're looking to pick up your backpack as a beginner. And REI is a great place to check out, to just see how they feel, see how they ride on you, see how they look, and then like I said, talk with the experts there, and they'll give you a great idea on how to custom fit a backpack to your own needs. So to recap, I really just want to emphasize the weight to price ratio. I know when you're a beginner, you really just want to like jump into things right away, and you just want to go, hey, you know what, I'm not really sure if I want to get into backpacking or not, so I just want to maximize my overall space on a super tight budget. But that may not necessarily be the best thing for you to do. Research like every type of video that you can consume to see what kind of options there are out there, to get detailed breakdowns of each one of these different types of packs backpacks that you can look at. But you know, again, to recap, for me personally, if I were to recommend a certain type of backpack to you guys, I would definitely say try to go framed, but then also try to reduce your weight as much as possible. Usually something around 3 pounds or under is what you're going to want to look for, and the price point is usually going to be around $200, and then you can look to see if you can get any sales on top of that. But that's a really great entry-level type of backpack that you could look forward to getting. And then again, like the price to weight ratio there, I think is the best for beginner backpacking. And then one of the last tips that I have for you guys is to reiterate something that I had mentioned in a prior episode. I'll put a link in the cards for that video up here. But in that video, I basically talked about how this should not be your very first purchase if you're going out backpacking. I know a lot of people think I gotta get the backpack first, but you should actually really do your research and consider buying a premium or a decent sleeping bag or quilt, as well as your pad and your sleep system, everything that you're basically going to be putting in your tent, as well as the tent itself, before you actually get the backpack. And you want to do that because you want to make sure that everything that you have in your backpack actually fits in your backpack. You don't want to buy your backpack first and then buy a bunch of gear that you're super psyched about and then load it up and figure out that it doesn't fit inside your backpack. So you want to buy all the stuff that you're going to put in your backpack before you ever actually buy your backpack. I know that sounds backwards, but it actually helps out quite a lot whenever you're considering purchasing your first backpack. So that's mostly going to do it for today. The shout out that I'd like to give today to another YouTuber is going out to Jeremiah Stringer and Jeremiah Stringer Hikes, and I think he just reached right around the 10,000 subscriber mark, so congratulations goes out to him. You got to check that guy out. He's from the South, he's a Southern boy, and he's got a great group of YouTubing friends that he goes out with as well. Usually he goes ahead and heads out over to the Red River Gorge area. He has his buddy John Kelly, which I'll give a shout out in another episode too, and they have their own backpacking podcast, which is an amazing podcast that they release, I think, pretty much every single week. They take a break, I think, during the wintertime. They have amazing guests on, which are also other backpackers in the YouTube community, and they're just a great group. So Jeremiah is an amazing guy, super knowledgeable, and he's hilarious too. So definitely go on over and check his channel out. Again, I'll post a link up in the cards and then down below in the description for his channel. So that's going to do it for today's episode, guys. I've got my scenic pier background. Let me know if you like that at all, if you have any interest in seeing that again. I thought it was kind of different, kind of weird, but I am kind of like located towards the waterfront area, so I figured I might as well use this backdrop. If you liked what you saw in the video today, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed, and then also hit that bell notification so that I can send you a video every time it's released, as well as you'll get notified of the different things that I post in the discussion in the community tab, things like info about giveaways, polls, and other things that I like to post on there, news in the backpacking community, anything like that that I like to bounce ideas off of you guys. So head on over to my discussion tab to get more information on that. So that's going to do it for my very top level beginner intro guide into how you would consider selecting a backpack. Let me know down below if you have any one of these backpacks. I'll post more info on both these backpacks in the description. If you've ever tried out the backpacks, if you're thinking about trying out the backpacks, if you have any other questions in regards to anything that I had mentioned in today's video, just let me know in the comments down below and I'd be happy to get back to you. What are the things that you like to see in a backpack? Do you like to have that compartmentalization, or do you not really care as much and you can deal with a top load and you want to save a lot of weight? Do you like nylon over Dyneema? Do you like having a zippered style, kind of like a traditional JanSport like school backpack that we all carried to class, where it kind of zips down off to the sides? And does the top load really annoy you? Kind of does for me, just a little hint there. Or are you totally cool with that and you're cool with kind of like digging into your backpack and you know where everything is before you dig it out? Let me know. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching this week, guys. I really appreciate you, and remember, if you're heading out off grid, make sure you do your research and you make it a safe one. Thanks again. I'll see you next week. Ah, man, there's just like a ridiculous number of pedestrians kind of walking by here. Not necessarily the greatest spot.